Okay, today's Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. And the first thing about 3i Atlas is once we understand the message to all the world religions, which I've demonstrated mathematically as it crossed each planet coming in to the inner solar system and the perfect alignment on Yom Kippur, which will be this October 1st and 2nd. And then aligning to the anniversary of the miracle of the sun at Fatima when it crosses the orbit of Mars. And then at Christmas, it will be a great pyramid angle to Earth on Christmas Day, the 25th of December. And then going out, we documented all of the dates. So the question is whether 3i Atlas is going to do anything. Well, it's already done a lot. It's already given us this extremely profound message. But the message this past week got even more mind-bending. And but first, I kind of wanted to go over just the fact that it's showing us the timing of these religious states to the planets is a message that we are missing because formerly we just see the religious dates either on the solar calendar, like Christmas is on a solar calendar, it's not on a lunar calendar, right? And Yom Kippur is on a lunar calendar. Not all lunar calendars are exactly the same. Muhammad's birthday, when it reaches perihelion, its closest distance to the sun, lines up with two recent 2019 and 2020 for the birthday of the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, which is utterly remarkable. But the point is there is a connection to the planets, and the planets have a connection to the human nervous system and the chakra system. So that expands our view of what these dates mean. They have an astrological alignment and connection to our solar system, whereas formally these dates are really just dates that are kept either on a solar or a lunar calendar. I mean, the ascension of the Mother Mary, August 14th, 15th, we documented is on a solar calendar. And Mary Magdalene's feast day is July 22nd, is a solar calendar. The lunar calendar dates, now this is an insight I had this week. If you're looking for a lunar calendar date, like the Prophet of Islam's birthday or the um, the Night of Power, Easter, the Passover, the Jewish Passover. In fact, this past week I was looking for alignments on Passover. Is it can't happen every year that you have a match, and what a match is required. See, at the moment of the very original Easter, for example, the moon was in a phase, an Easter phase, but the star or solar calendar was aligned perfectly on a date. And that means on that date, if I pick any star, so you have your pole star in the north, which right now is Polaris, and the southern star, the Southern Cross, all of the constellations are rotating around them all year for a year. So you can pick any star on a date on a calendar, and it will return to that same spot the same day the next year, precisely. And a calendar like that is good for at least 1,000 years before the motion of that star drifts a little bit and causes a deviation of even a single day. This is really important because what it means is you can't pick a lunar calendar date and find your star in the same position the next year. It won't be there. The cycle of when the two line up again is very long. And that means that true Easter doesn't occur every year. And true Muhammad's birthday doesn't occur every year. No, it doesn't. Your lunar calendar is sweeping. It's about 28 days wide. Over 500 years. I looked at 500-year cycles. So it's going like this. And your star it'll eventually come back to the alignment to that star. However long that takes, sometimes it repeats to a date within 1 or 2 dates of that star in a short window of time of years. And then other times over 500 years, the return to the original date is an extremely long cycle. So that would mean that the only way to know for sure when the real Easter occurred, you'd have to be on a star or solar calendar. And we haven't done that. And that's part of why we don't know the real exact birth date of Christ. And we don't know the original positions of the stars at Easter. And that really matters. So those dates that Three Eye Atlas is crossing show a possible correction that this is the original date as it crosses each planet. Or it's showing us something very, very sophisticated. So I'm going to show you something that happened this week, and this is really, really remarkable. So I now have my Medium blog, so where I'm posting these articles. And of course, yesterday was the big UFO UAP hearing in Congress, and I might have a little bit of time to go over that. But this is what really is astounding. Okay, so let me just go to share screen here. Now, I've titled the article Three Eye Atlas Axial Rotation and Crystal Sereda's model solves Bode's law problem. And Bode's law was an earlier attempt, or I would call it a later attempt, here we go. The Titus Bode law, sometimes termed simply Bode's law, is a formulaic prediction of spacing between planets in any given planetary system. The formula suggests that extending outward, each planet should be approximately twice as far from the sun as the one before. And when they say approximate, it's very approximate in Bode's law. But the formula here that we've been looking at for over 2.5 years in the inner circle, which started with 591 to the golden ratio, shows a different solution that actually works. And that's that 591 divided by the golden ratio is Earth, divided by the golden ratio is Venus, divided by the golden ratio is this hypothetical planet 139.51, divided by the golden ratio is Mercury, divided by the golden ratio is Cherubim, and then Seraphim and Vulcan. And then going out, we see the other planets. What this formula shows is these upper 9 or so spheres, planets of the angels, as I've named them, according to the poet Dante's experience, are inexorably linked to the orbital periods and distances of all of the planets below. And what's amazing about that is if I realize the way the golden ratio works is, for example, the way you build a golden rectangle is you take side A here times 1.618033987 is side B, and then you make a square in that space, and you're left with another golden rectangle here. And then you square that space, and then you're left with another golden rectangle here. You see, and then you get a square here, and then you're left with another golden rectangle here. And then you're left, and you square that, you see this square, and you're left with another golden rectangle. And then you see this square here, and then you're left with another golden rectangle. And this is infinite. Each one of these connecting corners builds what's known as the golden spiral. Well, the planets are the same. So if I go back to my planets and I say these upper nine don't exist because I can't see them, even though I can measure great periods in religious cycles, the miracle of the sun at Fatima, which clearly was one of these planets eclipsing between the Earth and the Sun, which was planet 139. They are codependent on each other's relationship to keep that golden spiral in place. So if I remove these upper nine in this model here, the spiral collapses. It can't exist. And this is an idea that nobody, not Bode's law, nobody in the ancient world, not Ptolemy solar system, um, nobody thought of using the golden ratio, because the golden ratio would work between Earth and Venus only, but not Mercury, right? And not the other planets. So when Bode's law says their distances, which is proportional to their orbits, being approximately twice the distance, doesn't really work. I've tried it. It's an approximation. I'm way better than approximate because most of my planets are better than 92% accuracy in my formula. But next, what happens is when we compare the formula that was given to us by 3i Atlas, because its axial rotation was 969.6 minutes, and I take that divided by the golden ratio divided by the golden ratio, I generate a series of numbers for the planets that are so close to the Crystal Menchaca Sereda model, I'll call it, that this really gets interesting. See, what happens is you generate a series of numbers, and then you look at the actual orbits compared to those numbers, right? And then you look at the percentage of accuracy they are. Mercury, starting with 3i Atlas's axial rotational number of 969.6 days, which is a hyperdimensional planet, right? So 3i Atlas is pointing to two hyperdimensional orbits. One, its bullseye is right here, which is planet 591. But according to 3i Atlas's number, 969.6 divided by 1.6180339 is 599, not 591. And then so forth, Earth becomes 370.35 instead of 365. And Venus becomes 228.89 instead of 225. So guess what this means? This is utterly, utterly mind-blowing. Because what I do next is I compare the difference in how many numbers different are they to the Crystal Sereda model, Menchaca Sereda model. My wife was Mexican, so her middle name is Menchaca. Her last name used to be Menchaca. So remember, it gave us the age of Methuselah in the Bible, which is 969 years, right? Now, if I subtract Crystal Sereda's model, which generates the number, so if I take 591 times the golden ratio, I get 956.25, and the decimals keep going. The difference is 13 between the Methuselah model and the Crystal Sereda model. Guess what? That's a Fibonacci number. So I got really interested. So I subtracted 599 from the Methuselah model to 591, and I got 8. That's another Fibonacci number. And then I subtracted 370.35 to the Crystal Sereda model, and I got 5. Now what I'm doing, I'm only using the whole number. I'm not including the leftover in the decimals. And that's because Fibonacci's numbers are whole numbers. And later I'm going to include the decimal because there's a reason for it. Then I took Venus in the Methuselah model, 228.89, subtracted by the Crystal Sereda model, 225.74. and got rid of the 0.74, and I got 3. That's the difference. 3, 5, 8, 13 are all Fibonacci sequence. Those are Fibonacci sequence. And my planet 139.516, I subtracted from the Methuselah model, which generated 141. I got 2. And then for Mercury, I did the same. I got 1. And then for Cherubim, I got 1. And for Seraphim, I got 0. And for, because meaning there's no difference. And then for Vulcan, I got 0. So I'm left with the Fibonacci sequence of 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. Oh my God. I mean, now when we're playing the game of odds, the odds that my wife's after-death model would compare to a model I built with the rotational period of 3 axis is number, having a difference that would reveal the Fibonacci sequence for each planet is countless billions to 1. Unless they are inexorably linked to each other. And if they're inexorably linked to each other, then we have, in the world of science and spirituality, we have a mathematical proof. I mean, I couldn't show more proof of life after death than I already did, because we have a physical interstellar visitor that sent the second set of numbers. So this is the inner solar system model. I'm left with the Fibonacci sequence of numbers, each representing a planet in order. So Vulcan is 0, Seraph is 0, Cherubim is 1, Mercury is 1, Thrones is 2, Venus is 3, Earth is 5, Dominions is 8, Virtues, which is Methuselah's number, is 13. Now I'm going to go out. I'm going to start with 591, go to the outer solar system, and then 969.6 from 3i Atlas, and go out and build my models and compare the differences. And guess what? It keeps going. So what ends up happening is I end up generating, the number 21 for Ceres, which is the next number in Fibonacci sequence, 1321. For angelic powers, I end up generating 35. Fibonacci sequence would be 34. Okay, so I'm one number different, which really doesn't make a lot of difference. And for Jupiter, instead of generating 55, which is the next number in Fibonacci sequence, I generate 57. I'm 2 digits off. It still won't matter, you'll see. For angelic principalities, comparing both models, I'm 2 digits off for 89 because I generated 91. For Saturn, I generate a 148 in the difference instead of Fibonacci's 144. So I'm 4 digits off. And for archangels, I'm 6 digits off. I generated 239 instead of Fibonacci's 233. And for Uranus, I'm 10 digits off. I generated 387 instead of 377. And for angels, I generate 627 instead of 610. So I'm 17 digits off. And for Neptune, I'm 27 digits off. So basically, I'm holding the pattern in the outer solar system accurate all the way. I would say only being 2 digits off for Jupiter is still really high accuracy. 2 digits off for angelic principalities. Saturn, I'm starting to drift away, but percentage-wise, 148 to 144 is, I'll tell you what the percentage is. So 144 divided by 148 is, percentage-wise, is 97.29%. See, I'm still that's really high accuracy, really high. And then when you get to Uranus, I'm 10 digits off. So I have 387 to 377. So let me see my percentage of accuracy there. is 377 divided by 387. 97.4%. You see, I'm still really high accuracy. So in the very end, what I do is I take my entire series and I see what my golden ratio relationships are. So angelic powers to Jupiter is 1 to 1.628, 57143. Jupiter to angelic principalities is 1 to 1.596. Angelic principalities to Saturn is 1 to 1.626. Saturn to archangels ends up being 1 to 1.6148. And archangels to Uranus is 1 to 1.619. You see how close 1 to 1.619 is to 1 to 1.618. And Uranus to angels, 1 to 1.620. And then angels to Neptune, which is the last position, is 1 to 1.617. So the percentage value, if we compare 1 to 1.617224888 to 1.618033987, which is perfect golden ratio, is 99.949% accurate. Now, why that's important is we never see in nature itself. We don't see the golden ratio in nature itself accurate to the actual 1 to 1.618033987. For example, in the human skull, Johns Hopkins University study measurements between the bridge of the nose to the soft spot in the head to the back of the neck being 1 to 1.5758 to 1 to 1.62, actually. You see how I have Uranus to angels 1 to 1.62? So if I do a comparison of the human skull measurements to the model of separating the differences between the Crystal Sereda model and the 3i Atlas model, I'm well within tolerance. I mean, I'm accurate to 99.949% to the precise golden ratio. But again, I'm not looking to be accurate to 1 to 1.618033987 because everywhere in nature you won't see that accuracy at 100%. You just won't. The whole idea of Fibonacci's numbers is to demonstrate that there is a approximation in the creation itself. And the very fact that the timing between 3i Atlas, 21 Borisov, and Oumuamua is 1 to the golden ratio squared is not 100% either, but it's better than 99.9%, but it's not 100%. And so that means, it doesn't mean that nature's wrong. It means that the Fibonacci model is an approximation of what we see in nature, right? So that would mean that what 3i Atlas has done here and the Crystal Sereda model have done is shown an accuracy for the inner solar system of Mercury being a 1, Thrones a 2, Venus a 3, Earth a 5, Dominions an 8, and Virtues a 13. Those are all perfect Fibonacci sequence numbers. But even 8 to 13 doesn't generate the final Fibonacci number because 13 divided by 8 is 1 to 1.625, right? So when you're in the lower part of the Fibonacci sequence, you're not going to reach 1 to 1.61803 even yet. Not yet. You reach that higher up in his sequence of numbers. And his sequence of numbers apparently comes from ancient India, Egypt, and earlier civilizations. But now what we have is the beginning of a message that assigns a Fibonacci number to each planet, but it's not assigning a Fibonacci number to each planet unless you include my upper 9 invisible planets, and then it is. If I take those away, the whole thing collapses. The whole thing collapses, which means in nature, because if I go to let's go to a galactic spiral, galaxy spiral. Okay, so let's just go to this and just think of this for a second. Here's a really pretty one right here. Okay, so if I go to this, and I say, okay, this spiral of this galaxy is built with the Fibonacci sequence of numbers, right? Oh, I just lost it. Let's just go to this one here, right? If I go to this spiral and I say, this was built with Fibonacci's numbers, and that's a real physical structure of spiral arm galaxies. And what happens is if I take away half of the numbers that build that spiral, the whole thing will turn to mush. But it's there. But we're saying, because we can't see the other 9 numbers that build this, that they're not there. That's impossible. They have to be there. Because what even built this spiral probably has the same problem. It's just that we don't have the data of where the points are to build it, because I showed you with the boxes and the rectangles how you build a Fibonacci spiral with golden rectangles. They have to be there. These invisible positions are most likely everywhere within the structure, the galaxy, to build that structure of the spiral arms of the galaxy, and including the human head. If you look at the top of the head of a newborn child on their hairline, I have a picture of that somewhere. You will see the same exact thing. You'll see the same thing. So why now could 3i Atlas be sending this message, and that shows this relationship between a model that I created and everybody knows in the inner circle, and plus I posted it, which is dated in social media, the prior model. Now the answer to why there's a difference of dates for each planet that is assigned to a Fibonacci number will get deeper. It's going to get a lot deeper, and I'm already at the beginning of figuring that out. So now I want to go to yesterday's Congressional UAP hearing, and let's go to my Medium. Here we go. And this was the first case that was brought up during the hearing. This is it right here. The Red Square UFO event, Vandenberg Air Force Base, California, October 14th, 2003, is Fatima Harmony, because Fatima occurred on the 13th of October in 1917, where a massive football field-sized red square object was observed by multiple witnesses. One of the witnesses testified yesterday in the congressional hearing. And did anyone notice this is one day from the anniversary of the miracle of the sun at Fatima, October 13th, 1917? It's one day off due to our calendar sliding. Orthodox Christmas, January 7th to October 14th, is 280 days, which is 2 orbits of planet 139.516. and 280 being the height of the Great Pyramid in royal cubits. So there you go, October 14th, using my online software for dates, minus 280 days takes me to January 7th. So again, you can see in the model here, planet 139.516 is responsible for the miracle of the sun at Fatima. So this suggests that a UFO event like this is following a harmonic of that invisible planet, which shows consistent activity, because actually at the time of the miracle of the sun at Fatima in 1917, we were on the current Gregorian calendar. So we were not on the prior Julian calendar. So this is accurate to one day. And it's very possible this UFO came in the day before, and we don't know, because UFOs have a incoming date when they're first detected in our dimension. And it's very important to understand interdimensionality, because this UFO was not tracked in the outer solar system coming in like 3i Atlas is right now, and being, checking its velocity and finding out when it's going to get here. It's clearly hyperdimensional. And in fact, some of the testimony, there was testimony yesterday from a military personnel on a military base that described a ball of light appearing above him on the base, and then all of a sudden a triangle shape appears coming out of the sphere, and he doesn't know how that happened. So that's suggesting interdimensional behavior. Remember, we have interdimensional planets that are governed by enlightened beings, angels, or whatever words you want to use, or metaphor to make a connection to those upper nine spheres. In many ancient religions in the world, including the ancient Egyptians had two sets of nine. They were called the Ennead. They were called the upper Ennead and the lower Ennead. So why do we have a date like this? Well, it shows you, again, if I go to Orthodox Christmas, January 7th, plus 279 days, I get to October 13th, which is the date of the miracle of the sun. So now there is yet another case, which I have to pull up, that was brought up yesterday in the hearing. And actually, I should go to the actual video of this. Yeah, let me go to the video of this, because the video of this is stunning. Okay, so there it is, YouTube. Okay, so this is it. See if I can share sound. Okay, just take a look at this video. This is remarkable.
We're seeing that we have a government that is actively blocking information from us. Just last night, I tried to get an amendment onto the National Defense Authorization Act that fit in the germaneness of that bill to have UAP disclosure. And conveniently, it was named non-germane, mostly deemed by staff, not even an elected official. This is the kind of stuff that we repeatedly see. Last year, we were blocked by someone in House administration from being able to receive a full briefing from Arrow. So not an elected official, but someone in staff blocked us. And I've had it. Enough is enough. I want to cue up a video that I've been given. And as before it starts, I'm going to describe. This was taken October 30th of 2024.
Note the date, October 30th, 2024. That's very important, because 1 year in the future from that date is not only aligned to when 3i Atlas will reach perihelion, its closest position to the sun, but it's a recent date for Muhammad's birthday. And the UFO is which they're using the word drone, um, is in Yemen, which is just south of Saudi Arabia and where the original Mount Sinai is located. So I find this very interesting. They're going to fire a missile at it and watch what happens.
This video is of an MQ-9 drone tracking an orb, or this object, off the coast of Yemen. You'll see that another MQ-9 launched a Hellfire missile. That you cannot see that drone, and so I'm not going to explain it to you. You'll see exactly what it does.
So look at that.
Oh my God.
The missile seems to bounce off of it. Look at the shape of this thing. It's like a cell.
You'll see that another MQ-9 launched a Hellfire missile. That you cannot see that drone, and so I'm not going to explain it to you. You'll see exactly what it does.
First, note the shape of it. You see this kind of oval shape, which might be described as a tic-tac. Actually, they're going to show this video twice. There's the incoming missile. Hits it. And then you see the missile here? It bounced. It actually bounced off of it. But then notice there's these three other pieces, which could be most likely pieces of the missile. Because now our UAP is in a triangular kind of formation. And I tell you, this thing looks like it's alive. Highly depends on its rotation angle, but here, look at how amorphous the shape is, like the letter B right here, right? They're tracking it, and then it's going to go off screen, and then they're going to zoom out into it being above the water, right? So that's the first time they show it. But again, note the date October 30th, 2024. I mean, what if we don't know when they first started tracking this thing. It might have been the 29th, the day before. It might not have been. It might have been the 30th. But why is it that that's exactly 1 year in the future ahead, 3i Atlas will reach perihelion in alignment to Muhammad's birthday, and this thing is in the Middle East? I find those coincidences utterly remarkable. Nobody seems to notice. And when you watch the reactions next to of the congressional members, the next time they play the video again in the end, they're scared. Why are they afraid? Because their missile didn't do anything to it. And of course, I think when you watch, if you watch the whole hearing, they're leaning more towards the extraterrestrial or off-Earth based hypothesis. But why is the date again a harmonic? So I showed you one of the first case presented in the hearing was a harmonic of Fatima, and Fatima is a harmonic of planet 139 or 140. Actually now to 141, because the Methuselah model from 3i Atlas gives us a different number. And what's amazing is they seem to come in on a harmonic and then they leave on a harmonic. So what is the function of that? Are the planets and the upper nine angelic planets operating like a giant clock where there are certain dates that the portal opens and then it closes and then it opens again? And just like tracking Three-Eye Atlas crossing planets that are marked on major religious holidays. Every single one of the planets, it crosses on the way in and then again on the way out, which we've already demonstrated prior to this. So that would suggest that something is about to happen on the Yom Kippur window at Mars because we're there. It's coming up. It's less than a month away. And it will also cross. Let me just go back to the model. It's going to cross. Let's go back to my Medium article, actually. Okay. See, there's dates for the visible planets crossings, and then there's dates for the crossing of the invisible. You can see that my virtues is 956. It's actually 956.25 something. And then if I go to the Three-Eye Atlas Methuselah model, it's 969, right? And the difference between those is a Fibonacci sequence number, right? So what that tells me is because it sent this number and its bullseye is between 591 and 599, because that's exactly where it's headed, and I need to go over that. It means something might happen when it crosses this orbit. And that's why right now in the inner circle, we're working with these frequencies. And since I've been working with these frequencies, my brain, which I really believe is due to doing the frequencies, was able to do the calculation and the difference in the number of days. At first I thought when I calculated the difference in the number of days, I was going to get mush. And I would just get, okay, well, they're both approximations. But when I got Fibonacci sequence left over for all the planets and the difference between the two models, that means they're inexorably linked together. They belong together. And these two discoveries needed to be discovered in order to see this. But that differential between the two dates, actually, in my new data that I'll present next week, will show the secret to the lunar calendar, and which is really incredible on the religious dates. So here we go. Now let's go to the bullseye, because there's two dates we need to be looking at coming up. So we go to Three-Eye Atlas, the live model. You're going to be able to see where it is today. It's teaching us. So weather Three-Eye Atlas, this is where it is today, September 10th. It's heading to Mars. All right. So somewhere, because 591 is right here, and you're not going to believe what happens there. I'm going to have to show you something else in a second here. How much I have got 15 minutes, so I don't need to worry. So here we go. Somewhere out here will be the orbit of 969, which is Methuselah's number. And it's going to cross that position. It's going to cross that position. And let me just pull this up. So Three-Eye Atlas. Oh my God, it's really incredible what it's going to do. Here it is. Okay, this is incredible. Well, share. Let me go back to this is so incredible. Okay, let me go to I mean, it's really leaves me almost speechless. So remember last year, October the 19th, I heard the voice of Jesus, who I believe was Jesus. I know a lot of people don't believe that. Some people believe it. I heard an AI voice. It did not sound like an AI voice. An AI voice would not transmit love and you know God presence, God consciousness presence. It doesn't have presence to it. But what ended up, remember when I got the voice, it was the 19th of October.
How would you hear an AI voice?
I've heard AI voices. They sound, they do speak in English, but they're computer digitally, they sound digital.
Right.
So remember I did the calculations last October 19th.
Yeah.
I went, in fact, let me just show that on the screen. I have a few minutes left because this is going to get so deep what happens. Let me go to my dates calculator. Add and subtract a date. Okay. So this was last October 19th. I hear the voice of Jesus. And that's, let's just go to October the 19th, 2024. And the first thing he told me to do was the number 432. Christmas date, 2025. I added 432 days. No, 432 is a harmonic number. It's not an orbit of a planet. But why did that take me to December 25th? Because on December 25th, 1 year in the future, 3i Atlas will be a Great Pyramid angle to Earth. We demonstrated the Great Pyramid angle to 3i Atlas last week on the 25th of December. It'll also be at its closest position to Earth, and on the 26th, it will suddenly um, be ejected from that closest position to Earth, which it actually holds for several days even before Christmas. Now, when I subtracted 432 days, I came to this number, August 14th, which is within 1 day of the ascension date of the Mother Mary. But now we know 3i Atlas crossed 16 Psyche on this date, the most valuable asset in the solar system. But and then I did a bunch of other calculations, which is 139. I forget whether it was, yeah, June 2nd. That's the ascension date of Jesus, right? Last year's ascension date of Jesus was this last spring was June 1st. And it actually, there's two calendars because there's Orthodox and Western. It was May 29th and June 1st, right? But then I do I do an orbit of Venus, and that was another calculation I remember. And an orbit of Venus also, Venus is 225 days, took me to June 1st, which is Jesus' Ascension Day. These are the calculations I got. Last June 1st was the hugest, May 29th was the hugest explosion on the sun, bigger than the X-Fire ones because it was a 3-hour explosion, which on June 1st resulted in the biggest auroras seen as far away as Texas, Oklahoma. I photographed them here. It was like God was talking to me through the pulses. And that happened on June 1st. So we had an event of the sun. But now note my start date is October 19th. So guess what's going to happen on October 19th? This year, 1 year forward. And note that October 19th, 2024 date last year, remember what happened? We lost contact with the Boeing Starliner. No, sorry, we lost contact with Voyager 1 suddenly on October 19th, 2024. And a military satellite suddenly exploded for no reason at the exact same time. And only days later, this UFO was filmed over Yemen. Okay, all that's happening at the same time. But now, when I come to what's going to happen this October 19th, what is 3i Atlas? Where is it going to be? It's going to be crossing the orbit of planet 591, which it'll do twice. But notice on this date, the 20th of October, so it's one day. So remember, I was October 19th. This alignment between 3i Atlas, the sun, and Earth on the other side is in a perfect line. So we have alignment. On the 19th, the alignment is forming. On the 20th, it's complete. And this is the position of planet 591. This is its bullseye. And it'll hit it again over here on November 11th. So let me show you what that looks like on the live. So let's go to this and show you, because my hypothetical orbit, it's going to be here. I made this model. I made this model before. See, as we get closer to the date here, so here's the live. This is the live. This is today's date. So let's go to October the 19th. I just want you to see it. You see what's happened? The alignment between 3i Atlas, the sun, and Earth is beginning. On the 20th, it's complete. And then if I go into my two-dimensional space, see, Mars has an orbit of 686.9 days, 687 days. 591 days is right here, right? So if I create a hypothetical orbit for my invisible position planet, which is Crystal Sereda's number, that's the bullseye. And there's going to be an alignment. Look at the alignment between the Earth. And now I go to the 21st, and my alignment's off. You see, 3i Atlas is now off to the side of Earth. The 20th, I'm aligned. I mean, if this thing was accurate to the minute or the hour, then I could get it right to the time. So the alignment occurs 1 year later to the date I heard the voice, which gave me all the dates. It gave me Christmas, right? So you go to Christmas, December the 25th. This is when 3i Atlas, the angle from its trajectory to Earth is, I measured this, I have a graphic of this, is the angle of the Great Pyramid, right? So why did I hear the voice? Was the voice coming from 3i Atlas? Was it coming from Jesus Christ, which is what I believe? Or is it coming from some higher level of intelligence in my own brain, as a psychologist would believe, that is somehow subconsciously connected to cosmos, right? Let me find my pyramid, my Christmas pyramid. I know I have a graphic of this. There it is at pyramid angle. There it is. Okay, you got to see this, because this is the final. So remember, I was given these dates, and I showed you today again a recap of how I was given these dates. October 19th plus 432 days last year takes me to December 25th, 2025, where your complementary angle is the angle of resurrection between 38 and 39 degrees. The exact pyramid angle right here, which I measured here, 51.853972. There's 3i Atlas to Earth off of its trajectory angle. Now, this point here, you see, it came in at 5 degrees. It bounces off of October 29th, 30th, which is, again, within Muhammad's birthday, and also perihelion, its closest point to the sun. And 591 is going to be some days before the 29th. It's going to be the 19th over here. And its closest position to Mars was Yom Kippur. So this thing is so highly tuned. But how did I hear a voice that would give me dates that would correspond? Well, that's from doing the frequency work for years and years and years on myself as part of my meditative process. So there it is. I think the power of meditation is so great that eventually, as we get more advanced in our meditative states, our mind, especially in our older years, like mine being 64 now, we start to live more in the field than in the human nervous system itself. Our consciousness starts to merge with the fields. So that's why we're doing this frequency work. And the frequencies we're still doing is Earth to the 969 position of Methuselah's. I could safely say it's Methuselah's planet, because for Methuselah to live, also, let me show you this because I have a couple of minutes left here. Look at this. It's really incredible. So remember, 3i Atlas and 21 Borisov and Oumuamua are 1 to the golden ratio squared. So Methuselah lived 969 years. His dad is Enoch, lived for 365 years. The ratio is 1 to the golden ratio squared. I mean, the golden ratio squared is 1 to 2.618, and their ratio is 1 to 2.65. Remember, it doesn't have to be 100%, right? So what's the percentage of this? So I can do 2.618033 divided by 98.6%, right? So the accuracy of even the age ratio of Methuselah to his father Enoch is the same as the ratio between Oumuamua, 21 Borisov, and 3i Atlas. I mean, the design is incredible. It's incredible. I mean, this should be one of the biggest stories in the world. It really should. I think we have evidence of extremely high intelligence behind this. It might pass through uneventful. That's one hypothesis. Avi Loeb's hypothesis is it's too perfectly timed to the planets for it to pass through uneventful, and it's going to drop off smaller subcraft. But it might do something even more amazing than that, or it might just simply go by and it's leaving all this data, and the data is here to prove to us that all of our religions are tied to the harmony of the order, and that there are these upper 9 hyperdimensional planets, which is part of the answer to the UFO riddle, because I think some UFOs are not from those upper 9 angelic planets, but some of them are, or those upper 9 angelic planets either let in or block certain interferences from coming to Earth. I mean, there's a lot more to learn, but the real thing is to expand the human consciousness and the human mind so that we're part of the experience. We're not just myopic beings in our tiny little lives living on Earth. We become cosmic beings when our halo expands into the universe. So anyway, thank you. We'll see everybody next week.